If you want to drop a role in Postgres, you use the drop role statement. So what you need to do is specify the name of the role you want to drop after the drop role keyword. To remove a super user role, you need to be a super user. To drop a non-super user role, you need to have the create role privilege. When you remove a role reference in any database, Postgres will raise an error. In this case, you have two steps you can take. First, either remove the objects owned by the database role using the dropped own statement, or reassign the ownership of the database objects to another role using the reassigned owned statement. Secondly, you can revoke any permissions granted to that role. So what the reassigned own statement does is that it reassigns ownership of the dependence object of a target role to another role. So because the reassigned own statement can only access objects in the current database, you need to execute this statement on each database that contains the target role. So after transferring ownership of the objects to another role, you need to drop the remaining objects owned by the target role by executing the drop owned statement in each database that contains the objects owned by the target role. So in other words, you need to execute the reassigned owned statement first, then the drop owned by the role, and then you drop the role. So now let's take a look at a practical example. Connect to your Postgres database server as the demo user and connect to the new DB and create a new. Ensure that the owner of the database is the demo user. So you can right click properties and check. So create a demo table. So now connect as a Postgres user and try and drop the demo user. Open the query tool and try to drop the demo user. So it's drop role and the user name, which is demo user. Then you execute. If you look carefully at the bottom of the screen, you will see the error. Role demo user cannot be dropped because some objects depend on it. Detail, owner of database, new demo test. It also owns object in the DVD rental and also owns objects in the new DB. So what you need to do to resolve this issue is connect to each database and then execute the reassigned own statement. So once you have done that, the next command you need to execute is the drop owned by command and then specify the owner. Now we need to repeat this on the DVD rental database. So go back to the Postgres session now and try to drop the demo user. The role has been dropped successfully. It's important to note that if a role has dependent objects, use the reassigned owned and use the drop owned statements in sequence to remove dependency of the objects of the roles before executing the drop role statement.